Greetings, one and all. Welcome back to another episode of Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League, but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league, either due to controversy, poor play, or just rotten luck. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a former 40-goal scorer, an NHL All-Star in multiple seasons, and a two-time Winter Olympic gold medalist. As we ask, whatever happened to Rick Nash? After being drafted first overall in the 2002 NHL entry draft by the Columbus Blue Jackets, Rick Nash made the Blue Jackets roster out of training camp for the upcoming season. Nash had a strong first outing, as he scored 17 goals and 22 assists for 39 points in 74 games during his rookie season in the league. This performance earned Nash a spot on the 2003 NHL All-Rookie team, but it wasn't enough to help the Blue Jackets make the postseason, as they missed out on the playoffs. Nash had started his NHL career pretty well, and was living up to the hype that being a first overall draft pick carries, but his best hockey was on the horizon. The 03-04 NHL season saw Nash notch 41 goals and 16 assists for 57 points in 80 games, cementing himself as a top goal scorer in the league in just his sophomore season. These impressive goal-scoring numbers were good enough to help Nash win the Rocket Richard Trophy, which he shared with Thrashers forward Ilya Kovalchuk and Flames forward Jarome Iginla, as well as earn a trip to his first of 6 NHL All-Star Game appearances. However, these numbers weren't enough to help Columbus make the playoffs, as the Blue Jackets missed out on the postseason yet again. Nash was quickly establishing himself as a top player in the league, and was determined to make this continue in the seasons that followed. But first, there was a lockout! During the 04-05 season, Nash, like many other NHL players at the time, took his talents overseas, as he signed with HC Davos of the Swiss National League. Nash made a great impression with his temporary team, as the Canadian forward scored 26 goals and 20 assists for 46 points in 44 games. Nash also scored 11 points in 15 playoff games, as Davos won the NLA Championship, and Nash was subsequently given the award for best forward in the league that season. Once the season ended, the lockout concluded and Nash returned to the NHL. After a tremendous start to his NHL career, and with his entry-level contract up, the Blue Jackets signed Nash to a 5-year, $27 million contract extension with an average annual value of $5.4 million a season. Just like that, Nash had been given the payday a player of his caliber in the league deserved, and he wanted to make sure that the money was well spent. The 05-06 NHL season saw Nash score at a point-per-game pace for the first time in his career, as he put up 31 goals and 23 assists for 54 points in a season limited to just 54 games for Nash due to knee and ankle injuries. However, the Blue Jackets missed the playoffs again, something Nash would find all too commonly came when playing in Columbus during their first decade in the league. The 06-07 season saw Nash match his previous season high point totals, as he notched 27 goals and 30 assists for 57 points in 75 games. This production helped Nash return to the NHL All-Star Game for the second time in his career, but Columbus missed the playoffs once again. The 07-08 NHL season saw Nash set a new career high in points, as the former first overall pick scored 38 goals and 31 assists for 69 points in 80 games. Whilst the Blue Jackets missed out on the playoffs for a 5th straight year since Nash had joined the team, on March 12, 2008, Rick Nash was named the 5th captain in Columbus Blue Jackets history, replacing the recently traded Adam Foote. With the C on his jersey and the expectation on his shoulders to bring his franchise success, Rick Nash would have to play better than he had ever played before. And boy, did he live up to the task! The 08-09 NHL season saw the newly named Blue Jackets captain score 40 goals and 39 assists for 79 points in 78 games, to break the point-per-game pace for the first time in his career and set new career highs in assists and points in a season. This production helped the Blue Jackets finally reach the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Nash scored 3 points in 4 playoff games, but unfortunately the Blue Jackets were swept in the first round by the Detroit Red Wings. Well, at least they made it though. Right? After leading the team to their first playoff appearance and continuing to play as a dominant player in the league, on July 3rd, 2009, the Blue Jackets re-signed Nash to an 8-year, $62.4 million contract extension, which would take effect in the 10-11 season. Just like that, Nash had earned the contract of his career thanks to his solid and consistent production for the Blue Jackets since he made the team 7 years ago. However, this contract would start the beginning of the end of Nash's time in Columbus. The 09-10 NHL season saw Nash continue to put up solid numbers in the league, as the Canadian forward notched 33 goals and 34 assists for 67 points in 76 games. However, Columbus took a step back from their historic season the year before, as they missed out on the playoffs again. The 10-11 season saw Nash continuing to put points on the board for the Blue Jackets, as he scored 32 goals and 34 assists for 66 points in 75 games. However, Columbus missed out on the playoffs for the second consecutive season. The 11-12 NHL season saw Nash put up his worst point total in 5 seasons, as the former first overall pick notched 30 goals and 29 assists for 59 points in 82 games. This slight dip in production coincided with the Blue Jackets having the worst start to the season of any NHL team in 19 years, as they went 2-12-1 in their first 15 games. Rumours circulated the entire season as to whether Nash and his big contract would be traded in order to solve the Blue Jackets' on-ice woes and get the team back into playoff contention. When asked about it, Nash stated that he would be willing to waive his no-trade clause if Columbus felt it could improve its team by trading him. However, Columbus's GM at the time, Scott Howson, stated multiple times that he had no intention of trading Nash. That is, until he was open to hearing trade proposals for Nash at the trade deadline, despite not actively shopping him after the team missed the playoffs for the 3rd straight season. Then, during the 2012 off-season, Rick Nash was traded along with Steven Delisle and a 2013 conditional 3rd-round pick to the New York Rangers in exchange for Artem Anisimov, Brandon Dubinsky, Tim Eriksson and a 2013 first-round pick. Just like that, Nash was leaving the only NHL team he had ever played for and was moving to the Original Six franchise on Broadway to play under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. However, before Nash could suit up for the Broadway Blue Shirts, the 12-13 season began in a lockout. Until the NHL resumed, Nash took his talents overseas to the Swiss League as he signed once again with HC Davos. Nash played 17 games with Davos and scored 12 goals and 6 assists for 18 points. Once the lockout ended and the 12-13 NHL season began, Nash returned to North America. Rick Nash's debut year on Broadway saw the Canadian forward notch 21 goals and 21 assists for 42 points in 44 games during the lockout-shortened season. This production was good enough to help the Rangers make the playoffs, but Nash's sophomore postseason appearance was incredibly underwhelming, as he only scored 5 points in 12 games as the Rangers were eliminated in the second round by the Boston Bruins. Whilst the 13-14 season saw Nash play his first full season as a New York Ranger, the former first overall pick seemed to struggle under the bright lights of Broadway, as he only put up 26 goals and 13 assists for 39 points in 65 games. This noticeable drop in production was still good enough to help the Rangers make the playoffs for the 4th straight season, but Nash once again disappeared in the playoffs, only scoring 10 points in 25 games as the Rangers were eliminated in the Stanley Cup Finals by the LA Kings. Curse you, Alec Martinez! The 14-15 season saw Nash's point production bounce back, as he scored a surprising 42 goals and 27 assists for 69 points in 79 games, re-establishing himself as a top player in the league. This new career high in goals for a season was good enough to help get Nash invited to his 6th and final NHL All-Star game. This resurgence also helped the Rangers return to the playoffs, and Nash was a lot more productive this time round, notching 14 points in 19 games, but the Rangers were eliminated in the conference finals by the Tampa Bay Lightning. However, this point-scoring renaissance would be the last strong outing of Nash's NHL career. The 15-16 NHL season saw Nash's point production cut almost in half from last season, as he scored only 15 goals and 21 assists for 36 points in 60 games, as he transitioned into more of a defensively minded, penalty-killing winger than a top goal scorer. He also added 4 points in 5 playoff games, but the Rangers were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the Pittsburgh Penguins. The 16-17 NHL season saw similar numbers compared to last season, but showed Nash could still put the puck in the net, as he scored 23 goals and 15 assists for 38 points in 67 games. These numbers were good enough to help the Rangers return to the playoffs for the 7th consecutive season, but New York was eliminated in the second round by the Ottawa Senators. The 17-18 season saw Nash put up his worst season totals since he joined the league over 15 years ago, as the former first overall pick put up a measly 18 goals and 10 assists for 28 points in 60 games with the Rangers. As the Rangers were looking to trade away most of their veteran players in order to acquire prospects and draft picks to kickstart their rebuild, on February 25th, 2018, Rick Nash was traded to the Boston Bruins in exchange for Ryan Spooner, Matt Bolesky, Ryan Lindgren, a 2018 first-round pick, and a 2019 7th-round pick. Just like that, Nash was moving from one Original Six franchise to another, and looked to finish his season with a successful playoff run on a Stanley Cup contending team. Nash scored 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points in 11 regular season games with Boston late in the season, and he also scored 5 points in 12 playoff games as the big bad Bruins made it to the postseason, but they were eliminated in the second round by the Tampa Bay Lightning. However, during his time with the Bruins, Nash suffered a concussion that kept him out of the lineup for several games, which has been an influencing factor on his next career move. With his 8-year contract he signed way back in Columbus fulfilled, and with him heading into unrestricted free agency for the first time in his career, Rick Nash decided not to sign a contract during the 2018 offseason. Whilst there were several teams offering him multi-year contracts worth several millions of dollars a year, Rick Nash decided not to sign with any team. Instead, Rick Nash decided to take some time away from hockey to be with his family. This last year saw Nash's partner give birth to their 3rd child, and Nash wanted to make sure he spent some time with his kids after being on the road for so long and leaving his kids for long periods of time over the past few years. Also, Nash had admitted that he was still feeling the effects of a concussion he sustained while playing with the Bruins. This meant that Nash decided he did not want to come back and play in the NHL until he was fully healed from his concussion, and it was the right move to make for both himself and his family. To this day, Rick Nash remains an unrestricted free agent in the National Hockey League. Whilst Nash has expressed a desire to come back and play once he's fully healthy, and there will no doubt be several teams looking to sign a veteran player like Nash with known goal-scoring talent and defensively minded play, we will have to wait and see if anything happens during this season or the season that follows. I certainly think that this isn't the last we have seen of Nash in the NHL, and he will return to the league, likely signing with Columbus or a team near Columbus, as that is where his family is based. However, I don't think you can fault the guy for wanting to be with his family, especially since he has 3 young kids to look after now. That is not an easy thing to do, whether you're a professional hockey player or not. Regardless of what Rick Nash decides to do moving forwards, there's no doubt that he has had a great career up until this point. In 1,060 NHL games, Nash has scored 437 goals and 368 assists for 805 points in his career, as well as 46 points in 89 playoff games. But even though he may have skated onto NHL ice for the last time, one thing's for sure. After 16 years in the league, 3 40-plus goal seasons, a joint Rocket Richard trophy, and 6 NHL All-Star appearances, it's safe to say that if this truly is the end, Rick Nash has had an incredible NHL career. And there you go. That's what happened to Rick Nash. What do you think about Nash's career? Was it good, bad, or do you think he will return to the league in the near future? I certainly think he will. Also, is there another player you would like me to look at in this series? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye!